We should go to Brighton. It's closed, and well, let's go do this. And so we went up on the hill, and there were some people that were ripping. Tonino was probably like him and Andy Wright and Brandon Ruff and Josh Roberts, even before like JP and Jeremy and those guys. Because those guys, and Tim Ostler, they all grew up in Cottonwood Heights. And it was just a bus ride away. I mean, they could literally walk to the bus stop, or their parents would drop them off at the bus stop right there. So they'd spend every day up there. And they were the youngsters that we started seeing around that definitely were doing things differently, you know?
Bus service was running at that time, UTA, and it was, again, not crowded, so it was really easy to catch a bus every 15 minutes from, 6 in the morning until about 11:30 p.m. There was a guaranteed bus, and there was always seating. Just rip the bus up there, get a ride to the mouth of the canyon from a parent, or walk. I mean, a lot of times we just walked in our gear because we were within about 1.5 miles, 2 miles of that bus stop. And yeah, just a mellow bus ride up, listen to your Walkman. Yeah, it was a good time. A lot of people met on that bus too, became friends on that bus. We made a video called Rocky Mountain Adventure. That ended up in a storage unit somewhere, and we never saw it again. There were 1 or 2 copies maybe. And it's like this priceless gem. That friend group still talks about it, like, who has it? Like, no one knows where it went. And so like maybe one of these days it might come out. If someone's parents have it tucked away or something, but until then, it doesn't exist to anybody else but us. We were the ones that knew.
Back then, being able to sneak away and go up to ride Brighton, there would be nobody up there except for a few older guys at that time and the Army. The Army was up there training, doing their snow session stuff, all in white suits and going down. And one day, came down the bottom of the lift line, and there was a Corvette in the parking lot, this white Corvette, and this kid getting a Sims FE out of the back, and that was Brandon. His mom dropped him off in a Corvette.
I mean, there was tons of spots. There's just so many. Like, I don't know, like there's, inbound spots. There's, Evergreen Gap, the between the trees hit, the power line hit, the Timmy would just, he could do the whole freaking thing. And I mean, and everybody had their own names for everything too, so it's just like I call it something, somebody else calls it something. And it got to the point where I started just making fun of like people would come into town and they had their name for it. I was like, no, that's the Varga Gap, or that's the Hicken Jib, or something like that, just to with them. Because it's just like, I don't know, I wanted to name it after like people that have been there forever, so it was kind of just fun with them. But
one of those days, having the best time ever with my buddy Steve Duke, we actually drove to the resort in his Ford Pinto. We're out there hiking around in the backcountry, first chair to last chair, and then out there, let's go hit a rock or something, just playing and having the best time ever, and biggest smiles on our faces. Lift closed at 4, and there was no night skiing, and we're rolling out around 5 from the side country, and 2 cars left in the parking lot. We were trying to start the Pinto and it wouldn't start. We're soaking wet in this little piece of crap Pinto, and then we suddenly see this like film crew, and it's Dave Downing, I can't remember who he was with, and they rolled out and they're parked next to us over by Millie, and it was the coolest scene of them being just like, oh, hell of a day, did you guys have fun? And we were like, yeah, it was the best day ever. And then they were saying how they had the best day ever and wishing that it wouldn't end type vibe. And then the conversation was like, oh, what's happening with your car? How can we help you get it fixed? And, it's simple enough as a dirty battery terminal. But, when we're, teenagers out of high school, not knowing how to fix a car, and, Dave's a little bit older than us, is just like, no, let's get this thing going, and helped us start our car, and off he went. And it was just like, me and my friend are just amazed that, wow, Dave Downing, had the sincerity to stop, chat with us about how epic the day was, and then didn't want to leave us behind, and helped us fix our car and got us on the way. So that's one of my favorite Brighton stories personally.
Jared's from Brighton's awesome, really great guy. He actually told a funny story about me, like meeting him when he was a kid, and his car broke down at Brighton and I helped him out and stuff like that. But now he's like the marketing guy at Brighton. and he supports snowboarding, and snowboarders great. So, and the whole resort has always supported snowboarding, which is really cool. They've, Alta's just like anti-snowboarding and just all ski guys, right? So Brighton's like opposite of that. They're super welcoming, and they've always been like that to snowboarders. So,
a lot of people always like to think, we try to give Brighton the credit, like, oh yeah, they were the most snowboard friendly resort when it all came out, but realistically, I don't think we were. We were just like everything else, just slowly kind of seeing it, filling it out, seeing what happens. Brighton didn't allow snowboarding for a couple years, and it's kind of a very similar scenario to the Bone Zone. Snowboarders were hiking around Guardsman's Pass, and back then avalanche mitigation wasn't anything like it is today. And near-death accident with a snowboarder because he was forced to be riding next to the resort and not at the resort, got caught in an avalanche and almost killed him. And it really got the general manager at the time thinking, this isn't going away. We need to start figuring it out. I think those accidents that ski resort management were worried about never happened.
At that time, the resort had grown so big that there was multiple pockets of really, really amazing snowboarders that you didn't know who they were. You kind of had an idea, like, oh yeah, I've seen that guy a couple times or whatever. He's up here a lot, but you didn't know their names. I mean, it was getting big by that time. And basically like, oh, who's that? And then you would go, either meet them or whatever. And then there was people from other states showing up. And it got to the point where, Brighton wasn't known as the ski-friendly family resort for a bit because of so many people, so many snowboarders there, building so many jumps and off of everything and log riding everything, trannies up to trees on, all the way down the run. So
the older I get, the more afraid of heights I get. Like getting on a chairlift, I like wrap my arm around the pole. I'm just like, oh, give me the tram. But then I get at the top and I get off the chairlift, and as soon as I put my goggles on, I'm 18 years old again. I mean, it something happens, and I feel fearless. I can do anything. I'm not afraid of anything. I can go anywhere I want to go. I'm so glad that snowboard gave me that.
Memories from back then are somewhat cloudy. That was some good days, you know what I'm saying? But one thing that I do remember is we went to Brighton in Meltdown Project year, which was probably 93, 94-ish. And I believe it was with Gooch, Ingemar Backman, and Dave Downing. And we had a couple crappy snowmobiles, and it was closed. And we're like, we should go to Brighton. It's closed, and let's go do this. And so we went up on the hill, and there were some people that were ripping there. I think it was actually Jeremy Jones and Mitch Nelson were there, and we're like, those guys are hella good. We're tripping on the whole thing, and they're tripping on us because we had a snowmobiles, and we were trying to make it happen. And everyone got a shot or two, and then the best part was when we went to load up the sleds, Gooch was like, riding the sled over to I think it was an American Eagle car that was towing it, and like, have you ever loaded a snowmobile on the trailer? And he's like, no, but I know how to do it. And I'm like, all right, sure, go for it. So he just gasses it and launches the snowmobile off the ramp onto the top of my Eagle. And that was interesting. And then basically they both fell off and no one got hurt. So that was kind of like my first introduction to Brighton.